my gosh. Did you get it from Salon?
What's that? Oh, it's okay.
Oh, nothing.
I
I was
can
just
I can
asking about
edit
your
this. No worry. No problem. Yeah, no, this is the mint I actually got from my garden that my husband has created. And so we've just been picking mint and just making like teas and things like that. It's really nice. All right.
so
Well, welcome. Oh,
cute.
yeah. I'm going to go ahead and start right now. Welcome to the Shine Within podcast. I'm your host, Gina Kunadian, and I have a very special guest today. I have here the lovely Nicole Taylor Chambers. And as a singer-songwriter, intuitive tarot reader, and creative, Nicole has come to terms with her highly spiritual path. Having grown up in a conservative and strict environment, she always felt pressure to follow a traditional belief system. However, after seemingly otherworldly experiences and even visions, she has embraced her unique mindset and deep inner knowing. From 2021 to 2022, Nicole spent 15 months working at Esalen Institute in Big Sur. Wow. The Institute is commonly revered for being one of the most iconic birthplaces of the human potential movement in the 1960s, with a focus on alternative healing, alternative medicines, and the unexplainable healing properties of nature. Nicole's time at Esalen greatly shaped her. Simultaneously, through her work at Esalen, she was finally able to get to the root of her painful stomach issues no one could previously diagnose. She discovered how trauma can become stuck in the body, causing otherwise unexplainable health issues. Working alongside incredible practitioners and healers, Nicole was able to witness and experience healing modalities such as various forms of energy work, sessions with mystics, and world-famous Esalen massage. After embodying
Mhm.
this less practical and more magical way of life, Nicole understood that she must lean into her creativity as a form of self-love. She is currently working on recording and releasing the music she wrote during the pandemic and welcomes all other creative ventures on the road ahead. Nicole encourages everyone to meet themselves on a deeper level and strengthen their bond with their mind, body, and soul. She believes expressing yourself creatively is just one of the many ways to achieve a closer connection to source. And Gina, where are your reading glasses right now? Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and reading the bios, I swear, I always stumble upon words because I don't like to wear my glasses because it creates a reflection in the video when I make it. And so I try not to wear them. And then I'm just like, oh my goodness, what does that word say? So pardon me, but I am so happy that you're on today's podcast. And I didn't know you sang, and I was so blessed to actually follow you on Instagram. And I looked at some of your Instagram posts and saw that you have a YouTube channel and a YouTube video of a music video, and I was like, that girl can sing and can move. And so I'm so happy to have you on my show. Would you mind sharing with the audience a little bit more about your background besides what I've already read over here, and just how you got into music and tarot reading and in healing?
Totally. I'll start with music because that's definitely been part of my life the longest. So I started music. My earliest memory of like performing and singing was when I was 5. It was a church like Christmas program. And I just remember that all the other kids were like way too nervous and they just like messed up. And then I remember that I felt like, and then when I was done, I was like, oh, I crushed that. And then I ended up doing some like singing groups when I was pretty young. And then I got into musical theater. And then eventually I had a scholarship to a private school for a few years for performing arts. And then and then during this time, I always wrote music. I've always wrote songs, but like just completely 100% only for me. Like I never ever thought or dreamed of singing them to other people. And then after I graduated high school, I went straight into community college and I pretty much just like stopped performing like at all. because I always went through like school or, stuff like that. So then, yeah, after like a couple years of just doing absolutely nothing with the music, during the pandemic, I was going through like extremely painful stomach issues that I just like, it felt like they came out of nowhere and I just did not understand. And it took me about 8 or 10 months to even figure out like what the heck was even causing the pain, because abdominal pain is really confusing. It's just like pressure everywhere. It's really hard to get to the bottom of it. Um, but yeah, totally rambling. But that's how I started. So then during the pandemic, I met a musician who wanted to work on being a producer. And we ended up just starting to record songs. And my experience at Esalen was happening at the same time. So should I go into Esalen a little bit so people know about it?
Yeah, you can go into whatever you want, and you're never rambling, okay? Feel free just to like ramble away.
Perfect.
It's okay.
So yeah, when the pandemic started, I was working for Parks and Recreation in the city of San Jose with kids. And then obviously the school shut down, the library shut down, the park shut down. So I found myself super sick and unemployed. And so for a while there, I was just kind of making ends meet however I could, like door dashing, trying to do like nannying jobs, just like literally trying anything just to keep paying my bills. And then I had a roommate who got this job where she would leave. Okay, so at this time I was living in Santa Cruz, and Esalen Institute is located in Big Sur, so it's about 2 hours south. And I got this roommate, and she got this job, and she'd be gone for like 4 days at a time and then be home for 3 days. And I was like, what the heck is she doing? Like, what's her job? Is she a firefighter? And it turns out she was working at Esalen Institute, which is a very famous, it's like a retreat now, but it's very much like, kind of think like Summer of Love, 1960s, like the hippies, the like, just like what you would imagine. It's that. And they did like a bunch of, how would you say, like experimentation with psychedelics for helping to heal trauma, plant medicines. They had like, when I was there, a lot of indigenous like medicine women would come and hold workshops there. So it's just a space where for the last like 50 or 60, however many years, it's kind of been a place for people who practice, stuff other than just like Western medicine. They're able to come and hold workshops. So like writing workshops, um, mushroom workshops, breath work workshops, dancing workshops. And so I ended up getting a job there as well because it interested me. And I was just like so freaking desperate for money too. And then little did I know that like that 15 months would be so instrumental in like, I call it like realigning with my path. Um, yeah, and just like eating really clean, being really mindful about what I ate, and yeah, just the entire, just also meeting people for the first time that were artists. They had like they're freelancers or just like a totally different kind of person because I'm from San Jose. So it's very techy and it's very like prestigious and studious when it comes to like your career. I feel like people, they want to work for Google or, and I just never resonated with that. And so I think in a way, being in Big Sur with all of those like freelancers, hippies, just like people who dared to kind of dream a little bit, I think that was the most healing thing of all for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So, and you notice that, and that's why we experience different places, living places, like for example, like you said, the Silicon Valley is very like you either work at some high-tech company or you're nobody. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? And at least in Big Sur, at this Esalen Institute, you're able to explore different things, not just work, 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 but more like, I think it gives you an opportunity so you to kind of discover like who you are as a spirit, and just to see like, hey, what can actually medicinally heal you instead of like all the crap they give us on medication and stuff at the pharmacy. And that is so neat that you were able to then explore your spirit and align to that. Now I just
Mhm.
have a question. What psychedelics did you take over there in the in the Esalen Institute?
A lot of mushrooms, a lot of mushrooms. Um, which my experience with mushrooms started actually in Santa Cruz. I was just curious about it and I took like a tiny little bit when I was like 18 or 19 and like I got the top of my brain blown off. Like I just felt like all of the things, it's one of those things where you really can't like explain it to other people because you just sound like crazy. But it was like all of my like limiting beliefs and just like limiting mindsets, like within 4 hours it was just like cleared out, like blank piece of paper. And I know that there's a lot of research too at Esalen, but also just out there, of psychedelics being really great for healing addiction. I've heard a lot about that.
Yes, I hear psychedelics are not addictive at all. It's just more of an
Mm-mm.
experience, and they actually use it as healing, like ayahuasca. There's a couple of people that I know who have taken that, and they've experienced this whole like life-changing thing where they felt they've seen their past and all this stuff, because what it does is like DMT, it activates the pineal gland, right? And then that's the third eye, and studies have shown that the third eye actually has some cones and and retinas. I have a study on that and videos and everything, that when we have two realities, right? One reality is the one that we're doing right now, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
other reality is when we're sleeping, our dreams. That is the third eye, that is the pineal gland that's activated in us. And it's just so neat. I've never tried, I mean, of course I've tried much. I've done like majority of everything, but I think because I was mixing so many things in the past, like I don't know what was what. I probably wasn't doing it right, but that's good that you were supervised in an like an institute where it's more like a healing, not just for like partying, but more like self-healing. And I do believe there's like this show on Netflix, right? I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called Shrooms or Mushroom or something, and it's supposed to be it's not the scary movie. But it's like a documentary about how mushrooms are actually good for uh, healing childhood trauma, apparently. What are your
For
thoughts on
sure.
that?
I think I have seen bits and pieces of that. I'm one of those people where like you put on the movie and I'm snoring 5 minutes later. So I haven't really seen anything like all the way through. Um, but I 100%, 110% believe that because I did have a lot of trauma. I moved out when I was 18 just because my life was pretty turbulent as a teenager. Um, which I can go into that. I had a really, really toxic um, relationship, if you can call it that. There was pretty much just like when I was about 13, I remember I was about to turn 14. There was this guy in my high school at the fancy private school that I had my scholarship at. So he became interested in me. And I remember just like thinking nothing of it because I was very sheltered. I grew up in a very, religious, strict, like I couldn't watch PG-13 movies, like even when I was 13. Like I was really just like, I was sheltered as much as my parents could shelter me, pretty much. And I think that kind of like inner light and naivety kind of attracted this like how would you say, like not like a leech but like moths to a flame. So this guy was just like super troubled already. He was a year older than me, but like he just knew about adult things and the world, and he was already doing drugs and like just like the opposite of where I was, like literally. And over the next like 4 years, we entered into just like an insanely turbulent, toxic, abusive relationship. Like, we'd call the cops on each other. We would like, it was just bad. It was so bad. And as an adult now, when I look back on it, I see that it was like so manipulative. And I think I was really taken advantage of for sure. And ultimately, it just like completely destroyed my self confidence. So by the time I was 17, we had been like, I don't even want to say dating, because he would like break up with me and then get back, want to get back together. And then if I would try to leave, he would like threaten to kill me or threaten to kill my family. Like, it was very bad. It was really bad. And so I kind of eventually reached a point when I was graduating high school that I realized like I just had to leave town, because people like that, because he's, and then even after I left, he still stalked me for a couple months, threatening to kill me. So it was just so traumatic, and I felt like it also estranged me from my family as well. Because people like that, they don't want you to have any support system or anyone that can stand up for you. They want to isolate you and ruin your self-confidence so that you don't feel like you can leave them. But eventually I just started seeing like community college as my way out. Like, if I just move to a new city, that's like the only way I can like get rid of this like abuser, pretty much. Um, and so my journey with mushrooms started maybe like a year after that. And seriously, I can't really even explain. And I'm not saying everyone should just go out and eat a bunch of mushrooms. It's more than that. You need to be like in a safe environment with someone that you trust. You need to make sure you know how much you're taking and don't take a lot. You need to have intention. I'm not just saying be reckless with it. It's like any substance, you need to have some like parameters. But yeah, it just like, I remember the first time I took mushrooms, the biggest takeaway I had was, for whatever reason, I saw myself as my mother holding me as a baby. And I felt for the first time, and I don't have kids, I just have a cat, but in that moment, it gave me like a sneak preview of how much my mom loves me. And just like feeling a mother's love for just a few seconds, it was so powerful. I'll never forget it. And then from that point on, I began actively healing my relationship with my mom and also my whole family. Um, and then also, yeah, just there's a million other things I had to work on too, and still. But yeah, I definitely am a firm believer in the medicinal properties of mushrooms for sure.
Yes. And what did your mom say when you were coming into, I guess, a new relationship with her? Was she responsive? Was she saying, "Oh, wow, thank you so much for that. I needed to hear that." What was her thoughts?
We never had a formal conversation about it because I've always loved my mom, but I think I just carried so much guilt and shame because I thought the abuse that I went through at the hands of that guy, I thought it was my fault. I 100%, I just thought it was like I had so much guilt and shame, and I just felt like my parents were like so like disappointed in me almost. So it was really kind of me projecting onto them. I don't think they ever loved me any differently throughout that whole experience or after. So for me, it was like an internal change that allowed me to like open my heart again. And because, for a while there, I wasn't like, I was just kind of keeping my whole life private. I would still talk to my parents, but I wouldn't really like share anything with them. They definitely don't know I do mushrooms. So I shouldn't say do, I've done a lot of mushrooms. So this will be a nice surprise for them on the podcast.
They're like, "Nicole." No, no,
But
they love you. They
they've
love
got to
you.
have figured it out by now. Yeah.
Yes, and like I said, but your intention is really the intention. You're not out there partying and being reckless with it, is because you're in a safe environment and is actually like medicine, like you said. Like for me, when I was detoxing alcohol, they gave me what? Morphine, they gave me Valium, they gave me all these things, which was just chemical, chemical, chemical. So I don't know, maybe if they gave me something that was like natural, that would even be better. That was not addictive, of course, and I hear mushrooms are not. But yeah, no, it's just a different story when it comes to drinking. But thank you for sharing about your relationship, because I think all of us have gone through relationships just like that. Seriously, I've
Mhm.
gone through many of them.
Mhm.
I felt like it was me. Actually, it was me though. I was the issue because I had some unhealing things going on within me that I just kept inside. And so I would project all of my anger towards all the guys that I was in relationships with by hurting them physically and emotionally. And I was the manipulative one. And plus, when you have alcohol on top of that, you're just like you are you're a demon. Let's just say that. You're a demon. Like seriously, it's just really crazy, crazy behavior. But thank you so much for sharing. And I'm so happy to hear that you've moved on and you've just healed. Of course, we're always healing more and more each and every day. What are some other practices you do to heal yourself?
Something else, tarot, for sure.
Yeah, let's
Yes. So
talk about that because I'm fascinated about that. I see it on TikTok all the time and I'm like watching, I'm like, sounds like it's for me, because they would just pull out some cards because I hear them say, and like the cards would just flick up and I'm like, how did that do that? Can you explain what that is?
totally. So I had never heard, even like heard of tarot. Like literally, I knew like about Ouija boards, but like I didn't know anything about anything else, like anything in that world. And then I had a roommate, and she had a friend come over one time, and she was like this cool girl, and she had like, I'll never forget, like a little elephant tattoo, and like she was like, "You want me to read your cards?" And I was like, okay, like why not? And then I remember she pulled out just a couple cards and like interpreted it. But for some reason, it really resonated with me. And it also really piqued my curiosity. So I drove myself downtown to downtown Santa Cruz, and I went to this like little magic shop, and I just picked out a deck of cards. And um, yeah, I ended up getting extremely into it. So there's like lots of different ways that you can have a relationship with tarot. Some people are really by the book. Each card has like a specific meaning. Pairings of cards have different meanings, and you can just read it like, just like that. But I found it to be a really great tool for introspection. Like, pull like one card for the day and then just kind of think like, huh, how does this relate to me now? Because I almost feel like in your third eye, or you know, your third eye chakra, whatever you believe, like your wisdom lives. I really believe people already know what they need to know, but sometimes it's just easier when you have some type of tool to help you with it, whether that be like tarot, a therapist, a good friend to talk to. Like sometimes just that introspection, I think, is the most helpful thing of all. So it just started out like that for me, just like pull one card a day and kind of just like think about it throughout the day. And then over time, I just started to really know the cards. And then when I went to Big Sur, they were selling tarot readings, and people were paying a lot of money for them. And I was kind of thinking like, huh, I didn't really think anyone took this seriously. Um, but they definitely do. And so I had the pleasure of meeting some other tarot readers, and everyone I've ever met, first of all, just does it completely differently. So I don't want to like say too much what my method is, but I'm more on the intuitive side. So I just kind of use the artwork on the cards, and I just have noticed that what I notice in the cards typically is the message I'm supposed to deliver. So it's kind of like, uh, what would you even call that?
Yeah,
I,
I
I
call
just say
it a
like I
spirit.
paint a picture. Yeah, totally.
They call
I
it
just use
spirit.
the cards. I just paint a picture, and then it kind of will give me some interpretation of what this person might be going through. And then over time, I just realized that I was really good at it. And there was a market of people there that wanted to pay for it. So that's just how I got into it.
That is awesome. Now, these people, do they just like, hey, read my card, or do you have to book appointments with you? And did you have like a busy a packed schedule?
So yeah, totally started out just being like, oh, read my card, read my cards. And it's also very kind of draining when you're tapping into other people's energy. I know you do massage, so I'm sure you understand. Like if someone comes in and they're so stressed out, you're the one that kind of has to like make sense of it. And in a way, like it kind of takes a lot out of you as the practitioner. Tarot is identical.
Oh,
And so eventually I did have to kind of put some boundaries and be like, okay, serious inquiries only, and you need to pay me, and you have to schedule in advance. Don't come find me at lunch and ask me. Because, yeah, it would definitely, especially if people are in a very uncertain place in their life, I pick up on that really heavily. So I do kind of have to like make sure I sage first, kind of meditate first, have an intentional space. I think intention is everything for everything that you do. It's good to have an intention. Um, so yeah, the tarot really just came out of nowhere for me. Like I never expected to get into it, but
yeah, you
yeah.
discovered a gift that you didn't know you had, huh?
Totally. Yeah.
What other gifts do you have? I mean, there's singing, there's just being a kind Nicole that there is. Any other gifts?
Um, I do experience very vivid, meaningful dreams. I get messages heavily in my dreams, like how you're talking about we have our reality when we're awake and our reality when we're asleep. I'm very fortunate. I don't know if I would call it fortunate, but I'm very aware in my dream state. And when I wake up, I can still recall them. And they're very, uh, they always
Vivid,
represent
huh?
something. Yeah, exactly.
It's neat because I always dreamt in color and I still do. And it's just like my dreams, like I always, before I go to bed, I tell my husband, I said, okay, let me see where my spirit goes tonight. Because I
Yes.
feel like we go places and like sometimes they're not so nice. And sometimes they're like, it feels like it's too much like reality here. And it just wanders off and does these things. And I mean, I don't think I get any messages. I get experiences, things that I
Ooh.
thought like I'll fly all of a sudden, I'll be falling all of a sudden. Those are scary. I don't like the falling ones, but I but I don't die. That's the thing. I'm always alive, even if it's like the worst, like the scariest dream. Like I'm able to fight that evil in my dream because I have such a strong spirit now. Not before, when I was drinking, it was not like that. I was very weak and was attacked constantly. But now I can, when I do get attacked, or if I have very bad dreams, I am able to reverse it and have a and protect myself. So
I love
it's,
that.
yeah, it is super cool. It is super cool. So I have a couple of questions that I wanted to ask you. So how can people meet themselves on a deeper level and strengthen their bond with their mind, body, and soul?
So I think the first thing that I really believe is like the best starting point and something to continue on your spiritual journey is sitting with yourself, sitting with your emotions, sitting with your pain. And this is where I started on my spiritual journey when I had my severe stomach pain. It got to the point I would go like 5 days without being able to sleep because the pain was just so intense and I just didn't understand. Now looking back on it, I see, the trauma I went through, I just held it right in my stomach. And I think meditating, I like, or just kind of, yeah, sitting with yourself. I like to put one hand on my heart and then one on my stomach and just kind of like sit there for a minute and just check in with yourself. Like, how is my mind feeling? How is my body feeling? Am I holding tension? And I think that's the first way to like open that dialogue with your inner self is to just listen because we're always just in overdrive, especially with consuming and scrolling on your phone. Your brain's just buzzing. There's no stillness, there's no clarity. But I really think just sitting down and just tapping into what you're feeling, what's going on with you. I think that's the first thing that you can really do on a spiritual journey. And then also just periodically all the time.
Yes, and then you are a songwriter, and do you feel that when you write your music and lyrics
Mhm.
that it is therapy for you, or what do you feel like your spirit leads you into writing certain lyrics?
100%. Yeah, I mean, it just started out as something I did for myself. So it literally was just like my journaling. Um, and then, but yeah, I definitely know it's my spirit because most of the time I'll just be like at work or doing something or driving, definitely when I'm driving, and the melody or the words will just pop into my head, like as if I've heard it and it's just stuck in my head. And then that little like few seconds of the song, I'll sit down and then it's just like this whole song comes out. And I'm like, did I write that in a different life and I'm just remembering it? Or, yeah,
That is so cool. Yeah, you're just like listening and just, being still, like you said. And then all of a sudden the whole song comes out. You're like, let me write this down. I guess that's how
yeah.
Stephen King made his movies. Like he would have dreams and write his dreams down. And then they became novels, then which became movies. And then here you are writing this beautiful music. Now, what kind of genre is it R&B soul? Is it pop music? Like what kind of music do you sing?
You know, that is a great question. I listen like 90% of my music is R&B and I also like neo soul. So it could be that. I've gotten a couple different things, but I really don't even know because it kind of depends. Like I feel like I have some songs that are more like upbeat, almost like kind of pop, and then I have some songs that are definitely R&B, but I think like and I've only started releasing music fairly recently, maybe about a year ago. Actually, yeah, about 1 year ago. So I don't know if I've 100% even like found my sound yet. It's more of just like putting things out and seeing what people respond to, what feels good for me. But I think like soft R&B is like a safe, you could call it that, but truly I just want everyone to interpret it however they hear it.
I know. I think we put like labels on music and it should just be like a frequency that you feel right inside
Totally.
you. Like, and then you kind of like resonate with and you can kind of vibe with, and then you just like, ah. Because
Exactly.
I love dance music, and it's funny because my husband, he's like into soft melodies and everything, and I'm more like da, da, na, 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 na. I love like the dance music because it's like it resonates with me because I have such high energy. And so of course
Mhm.
I'm gonna love the high energy music with like the house and like the drum and bass and all that, because that's what lifts up my spirit. And I get things done around the house too that way because it makes me clean faster when I hear good music. I love music. Now, who are your music role models?
Ooh, I would say that's a hard question.
Yeah.
I really love, I feel like just in general right now, women are really on fire. Like even in like rap, hip hop, R&B, like I love Summer Walker, I love Janae Aiko, I love SZA. Just like I feel like the women are really, it's not a competition, but the women are really on top right now. Um, yeah. But I also love Mac Miller, rest in peace. He definitely was an inspiration for me because he's kind of moody. Like his music was very kind of depressing. But for me, I've noticed that I tend to write music the most when I'm going through depressing things. So I also write kind of like sad music, but it's just because when I'm going through something happy, I don't always have to express that musically. I can just like go run around, dance, go out. I can express happiness a lot easier. Whereas when I'm having like negative feelings or heartbreak or jealousy or those lower vibrational emotions, I find music is the way to transmute them and kind of make something so uncomfortable into something that is beautiful and people want to listen to. So I think yeah. It's a hard question though, girl.
Yeah, I know. And with the self-expression, it's like an art. Music is an art, and self-expression is an art. And when you're able to write music and then sing it, that is an art in itself. And being able to do that frees you. And then I'm sure you feel a lot more liberated. You feel like you got things out of your chest. It's not stuck in your stomach anymore. I
Yeah.
had stomach issues too, because I have experienced childhood trauma from the ages of 6 to 12 years old. And going through that, I didn't know what was wrong with my stomach, and it was my intestines as well. So I totally know exactly what you're talking about. And no one can figure out what it is. And when I went to the hospital, it was a children's hospital, the doctor said that it was IBS, but like, what is IBS caused from? Like, I'm not eating spicy stuff. I'm not like, constipated or having diarrhea. It was hurting, and I was getting anxiety, like anxious stomach, and that's where all of my anxiousness laid, right in my stomach. And then later on, through like biofeedback and like therapy work, and then inner healing work and all that work, then I have no stomach pain anymore. It's been gone for a long time. And I'm surprised. Well, the last stomach pain I had was when I had issues with my pancreas. And with the pancreas is because of my drinking. And so that created this, oh my gosh, that's like worse than labor pains. And I wouldn't wish that amongst anybody at all. So yeah, I'm glad that you're able to get through that.
Yes, you too. I always like, seriously, stomach pain is so painful because it's your second brain, you know? So yeah, I really think that a lot of, not everything, but I think a lot of pain people feel comes from emotional reasons and not physical reasons.
Right, because our body tells us like, hey, something's going on. When we're not feeling good, it's our body letting us know you need to focus on this part here because there's something going on. And holistically, I like to then go ahead and do like extra stretching. If my back is hurting, I'll go ahead and breathe more, walk more, just get some movement going, because it's doing massage, as you as you know, as massage therapists, we hurt afterward, and we take on that energy from others. And it's hard. I always feel like I'm a little bit more crankier when I get home after work, but then I just have to like shake it off and let it go and just breathe and do breathing exercises. What is your favorite breathing technique?
My favorite breathing technique is just stretching and deep breathing. I'm not a huge like gym girl. I really hate going to the gym. I just like to be in my own space. And I also am not the most disciplined person, so structured workouts aren't always my favorite. But yeah, I hold a lot of my stress like in my back, my shoulders. So just kind of again with the intuitive thing, I just do everything intuitively. Just kind of checking in with my body and breathing into. I like literally imagine myself giving air to the areas that hurt and works for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Giving air and using my imagination and giving air to the areas that hurt. I like that. Because
It works for me.
yeah, and whatever we create in our head manifests if we're really depends on our intention, like you said, we're going to always go back to intention, right? So so besides expressing yourself creatively, what are some other ways you can connect with source? Be God, can be called universe. What do you think?
For sure, nature. I think that was the other like healing component of Big Sur. In addition to meeting all the amazing, inspirational, magical people, um, you don't have cell service. There's no one around. I mean, if you go outside into a field, you're the only person there. And it just gives you, especially like if you're a sensitive person or an empath, um, I think you can pick up on other people's energy and carry it around and not even be aware that you're doing that. Like I had a roommate that had really bad depression and anxiety. And the few months I was living with her, I took on those traits. And then when I moved out, I realized, oh, that was never my emotions. That was totally her thing that I was like absorbing. So I think just being out in nature, and then I know I've heard you talk about this on the podcast too. I think a lot of people really benefit from nature because sometimes you have no faith, especially if you're at a really low point in your life. And for some reason, when you just sit quietly and just breathe with nature and the trees, and I love water. I'm a water sign. Um, yeah, I just feel like it gives you this like inner calmness that I just haven't really been able to find, you know, in the city or really anywhere else.
Right. There's no calmness in this city. Like literally, I live in San Jose as well. And there's constantly like fire engines going by, ambulance, like car accidents constantly. Like we live close to like a fast food restaurant, and at nighttime, like I'm in the East San Jose, so it's a little bit more rowdier over here. There's like fights and everything. So it's like, can we get peace? Luckily, just not too far from me is the Alum Rock Hills. And so that's where my husband and I escape to. And we go out there and we take walks. So we'll take the kids as well. And like you said, that nature aspect of healing is available to us if we want it. And I like to actually
Mhm.
take off my socks and rub my feet in the dirt and be grounded that way. You get some sort of connection that way, and it is wonderful. Another trick that I just recently learned is that, they have those staffs, or those hiking sticks. Don't use those sticks, but actually use a real stick, a wooden one, a tree, because that actually connects to the ground, which then you're holding that
Mhm.
bark, and then it activates you. So we're all connected to nature, and it's just so wonderful that I have access to it. So I have the best of both worlds. I have the city life, and then right behind me I have the hills, and it's just very calming and soothing. I love it.
That's beautiful. My friend was just hiking there. I've got to go in the next few days before I move. Um, but yeah, they do teach that at Esalen too. They teach to just, especially if you're traveling and you go somewhere new, you're supposed to, first thing you do, take off your shoes and just walk, and it helps you like assimilate with the vibration or the energy of where you are. So I definitely believe in being barefoot. I'm totally a hippie.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, that's why it's good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And so do you do shows often, or where can people like find you if they're interested in your singing?
So I have sang around San Jose at a couple of different venues, but I'm actually moving out of San Jose. So I think the best place to find me is probably Instagram or YouTube, or I think you'll post my like email. But yeah, Instagram is something I check every day, so that's typically the best place to reach me.
Yes, and I will definitely post that in the show notes. But in case no one looks at the show notes, I'll go ahead and give you her Instagram handle, as well as her YouTube. It's Nicole Taylor Chambers, all one word, and it's Nicole. Did I say, yeah, Taylorchambers? Yes, I don't have my glasses. That's why I'm squinting this way and looking. It's just Nicole Taylor Chambers, one word, and you can find her on Instagram and then YouTube. Wow. So we have a lot of listeners that have gone through a lot of trauma in their lives, and that's why they go to alcohol and narcotics as a form of medicine.
Yeah.
What would you say to the listeners? What advice would you give them?
Um, the advice I would give them is to, if you think it's right for you, try some mushrooms. And then, if that kind of frightens you, I really think you should tap into your creativity, whatever that is. If you love to cook, if you love to sing, if you love to go out dancing, just do something creative and just do it just because you enjoy it. Um, and I just feel like it heals your soul, just that alone.
Yes. Did you notice, like you were mentioning during COVID time, you were doing a lot of writing for your music, and I was noticing that I was tapping more into like cooking and more like
Mhm.
makeup and just learning different things that I didn't know, the skills that I didn't know that were there. And I'm kind of happy. I mean, I have a hate and love thing about COVID. I mean, I don't like what it has done to a lot of the people. You know, I've had two uncles who've died from it, but it has helped families come together, as well as people are then learning, like, what are my interests? What do I like? Or people are researching more about things that they love and their passion. So I feel like if you do take that time for yourself to learn about yourself, and you just be a happier person overall, and just to surround yourself with like-minded people as well.
Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree. And I also think that there was a big silver lining of COVID. I know it's kind of like maybe people don't want to hear that, but I really do believe that. I mean, before COVID, I was commuting 2 hours a day and working like over 40 hours a week, which I know that's normal, but it's a little bit sad that that's normal. And I know in the Bay Area, it's like out of pure necessity because it's so expensive. Um, it's hard, but I really think that overall, I think as like a society, we did kind of get a better work-life balance from that experience. And then also like if you don't feel good, when I grew up, like if you don't feel good, you still go. You still have to go. You still have to suffer through school, all of that. But I think now people are more comfortable setting that boundary of like, no, I'm gonna actually stay home. That's gonna benefit other people and myself. Um, so I think that's good. I think we give way too much to work here, way too much.
Totally. Now, Nicole, like, you don't have to if you don't want to, but can you just give like me a sample? Because I've known you for a while, and I know we were just talking about that. It's totally up to you, no pressure, but can you give us a little like sample of your singing?
For you, I will. I
Oh,
will.
thank you.
Let me think. Also, if anyone's watching this like actual video on YouTube, it is 90, maybe 95 degrees in my apartment, and I have no AC. So just we're just going giving this fresh face energy.
Oh, you look good. No, it's like, the highlighter you use for makeup and your shimmer, that dewy look. It looks good.
My natural.
Healthy looking. Very pretty.
Okay, let me see. I'll sing a little line from you from a song I do have out on all streaming services, and it's called Less Than a Lover. Um, should I just sing the first verse?
Yeah, just the first verse. You don't have to sing the whole song, just a little bit.
Listen, won't you listen? You won't let me in, you won't even listen. You've been tucking feelings, tripling my emotions, feeling hopeless, hope is all lost. And yeah,
Beautiful. I love it. Very beautiful voice. Thank you. So
thank
angelic.
you.
Oh, it was a pleasure having you on my show, Nicole. Thank you so much. And I hope to like maybe visit you in Chicago sometime.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
You have my number, you have my
Yes.
Instagram, so come on by.
All right, will do. Take care, Nicole.
Thank you for everything. Have a great night.
Bye.